My name is Nonny De La Pena.
So what are your thoughts about virtual reality taking over this new frontiers at Sundance Film Festival this year?
So for me, this is kind of a dream come true. I was here with the only VR project in 2012, and at that time I was kind of the weirdo, kind of ugly stepchild. Yeah, we ended up with like 3-hour wait lines, but you know, as the head of the Sundance Film Festival said today to me, Carrie Putnam, she said, yeah, you don't have to justify yourself anymore. Like, here I am among my family, my friends, and people who get the vision without having to explain anything, and the same excitement and enthusiasm and interest in the future of this new platform for storytelling.
Can you take us back a few years, and you had a special intern that was working with you back then named Palmer Luckey that most people probably know these days.
So, it really started in a lab run by Mark Bolus at the University of Southern California. And Mark created this little environment where he invited people like me and Palmer and a couple of sort of unsung heroes on this, a guy named Tai Fan and Evan Suma and John Brennan and Bradley Newman. Those were sort of, I think, the key people. And we had like a Unity working group, and we began to prototype stuff, and Hunger in Los Angeles was prototyping that lab. And that was a piece where I was really committed to trying to tell the story of how invisible the hungry were in America. And I wanted to make a VR piece that was super experiential to put people there and make them see what was going on, right? And that got into Sundance. But at the time, we only had these things called the Wide 5, or these really wide-angle view goggles that Mark had basically invented. And it was the last pair, and they're like $50,000, and Mark was like saying, you can't take those to Sundance. And there was a big push in the lab to produce goggles that could go. So Palmer was like the lab assistant. We together produced 2 pairs. Like, the truck was meant to go out at 10 a.m. It didn't go until 10 p.m. because we were coding the distortion out, and everybody's working really hard to make them perfect before they went, and I was in a panic. So we come to Sundance, and basically Palmer like crashed in my hotel room and drove the truck back for me, and actually kindly got my boots from the car, the billionaire boy. That was the first big premiere, and 9 months later, Palmer did the Kickstarter, and of course, the rest is history with Oculus. Now, it went from 2, I could show you a picture of the duct tape, scrappy goggles, 2 pairs, one backup, one called the PRN4, and the other one called the Scuba, and into the Oculus Rift. Look at this place, right? Look at all the creative work that's gone on here, and people like Dan Funkdinish came through Hunger in LA and started his work, and Chris Melk came through Hunger in LA and started his work, and so there are a number of people who have, through that moment, been bitten by the VR bug, and being here now is just tremendously wonderful. It feels great to be here.
And there's a lot of Oculus here, but you also have your own setup here with your head-mounted display. Can you talk about the technology behind Syria?
Yeah, so those goggles were actually built by my brother. We still are using 3D printers, and we were lucky enough to have a relationship with a lens manufacturer that was formerly known as Leap. So we've got really wide field of view lenses, and the deal is we use high-end components because we don't distribute into a way that Oculus does. So I still make my goggles so I can use higher-end components, and we're also coupled with really one of the best motion capture systems, FaceSpace, and they've been very generous with us as well. And it gives us a really perfect, clean tracking that we can feed back into those goggles and make an experience where you can walk around, and we're wireless. So that's really our key things, that we're kind of working on the high-end version, a kind of IMAX level, as you will. I think that's where we have 2 things. We do the high end, and then we do the mobile. That's really our biggest thing. And I love Oculus as our sit-down experience, but for some reason I've ended up working in these 2 different fields in the way that I've been drawn. Though of course, I've got close relationships with all the folks at Oculus.
What does walking around add to the experience as you create something like Syria?
I think there's a really interesting component that as you make for virtual reality, people sometimes forget, the body is along for the ride. And I think when people get nauseous, it's often because of that. I mean, pieces like Birdly obviously take advantage of the fact that your body's in there and allow you to move your body at the same time as you visualize things. So you don't have the disconnect between body and mind. So walking around allows you to have this very visceral, full-bodied experience where your movements in the virtual world match your movements in the physical world. And it really reduces discomfort and also adds a really enhanced experience. As Angus Wall, who's the editor for, Academy Award-winning editor for Social Network and Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, said, it really activates my lizard brain. I stop thinking about the visual and etc. I'm just physically there. And I think the moving around allows us to get closer that way.